Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 10, The Departure of Lord Krishna for Dwarka, text number 24. Savayam Sakyanugita Sakato Vedeshu Guneshu Chaguya Vadibi Eka Isho Jagat Atma Lilaya Srijat Yavat Yati Tatra Sajate Savayam Sakyanugita Satkato Vedeshu Guneshu Chaguya Vadibi Eka Isho Jagat Atma Lilaya Srijat Yavat Yati Natatra Sajate. Yeah. Ladies. Vayam Sakya Gitita Sakato Vedeshu Guneshu Chaguya Svadibi Ya Eka Isho Jagat Atma Nilaya Srijat Yavat Yati Natatra Srijate Sa He Vai also I am this Sakhi, O my friend, Anugita, describe, Satkata, the excellent pastimes, Vedeshu, in the Vedic literatures, Guyeshu, confidentially, Cha, as also, Guyavadibi, by the confidential devotees. Ya, one who, Eka, one only, Isha, the supreme controller, Jagat, of the complete creation, Atma, super soul, Lilaya, by manifestation of pastimes, Sri Jati creates, Avati Ati also maintains and annihilates, Na, never, Tatra, there, Sajate, becomes attached to it, Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. My dear friends, here is that very personality of Godhead, whose attractive and confidential pastimes are described in the confidential parts of Vedic literature by his great devotees. It is he only who creates, maintains, and annihilates the material world, and yet remains unaffected. Purport. Please repeat. My dear friends, here is that very personality of Godhead, whose attractive and confidential pastimes are described in the confidential parts of the Vedic literature by his great devotees. It is he only who creates, maintains, annihilates the material world, and yet remains unaffected. Purport. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita, all the Vedic literatures are glorifying the greatness of Lord Sri Krishna. Here it is confirmed in the Bhagavatam also. The Vedas are expanded by many branches and sub-branches by great devotees and empowered incarnations of the Lord, like Vyas, Narada, Shukadeva Goswami, the Kumaras, Kapila, Prahlad, Janaka, Bali, and Yamaraj. But in the Srimad Bhagavatam especially, the confidential parts of his activities are described by the confidential devotee, Shukadeva Goswami. In Vedanta Sutras or Upanishads, there is only a hint of the confidential parts of his pastimes. In such Vedic literatures as the Upanishads, the Lord has expressively been distinguished from the mundane conception of his existence, his identity being fully spiritual, his form, name, quality, and paraphernalia, etc., have been elaborately distinguished from matter, and therefore he is sometimes misunderstood by less intelligent persons as impersonal. But factually he is the Supreme Person, Bhagavan, and he is partially represented as Paramatma or impersonal Brahman. My dear friends, here is that very personality of Godhead whose attractive and confidential pastimes are described in the confidential parts of the Vedic literature by his great devotees. It is he only who creates, maintains, and annihilates the material world, and yet remains unaffected. Om Vishnu Vidaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namane Namaste Saraswatunde Gauravani Vicharane Nirvishesha Srinivadi Paskadyade Satarane. Lord Krishna introduces the 9th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita with the following words. Idam tu te goyatamam pravaksham anushuyave jnana vijnana sahitam yajgatra moksha se shubha. Idam tu te goyatamam. So Krishna is going to explain something which is guyatama. Guya means secret, hidden, and tama, uttama, the most hidden part of the Vedic literature. Idam tu te guyat pravaksham anusuyave. Pravaksham. So he's able to do this to Arjuna because Arjuna is anusuyave. He's not envious. Jnana vijnana. This knowledge, he'll explain, is both theoretical, and there's an application to it called vijnana. Yash gyatva moksha se shubha. And by applying it, by understanding it and applying it, and one becomes free from all the miseries of material existence. And the confidential knowledge is the same knowledge is explained in all the different chapters of Bhagavad Gita, but here it's more direct. And that the chapter ends with Manmana Bhava Madbhakto Vadyaji Mam Namaskuru Mama Vaishasi Yuktaivam Atmana Matparayanaha. That engage your mind in thinking about me. Now Krishna has also said Naham prakasha sarvasha yogamaya samavrita mudo yam nabijananti loko yam ajam avyam. That I'm never manifested to the foolish and unintelligent. For them I'm covered by my eternal creative potency yogamaya, and so the deluded world knows me not. I'm unborn and inexhaustible. So Krishna has this energy called yogamaya, and yogamaya has two features: that which covers the living entity in ignorance and brings one to the false conception of being a material body and mind, which I guess most of us are under right now to some extent. And then there's the internal energy of Krishna that uncovers Krishna to the extent that one is able to understand that Krishna is one's beloved, that he's this, different aspects of Krishna, Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. Now the most foolish persons are those, as Krishna says, Ukramantam sitim vapi, Bunjana va gunanvita, Vimudo nana pashanti jnana chakshusha. That the foolish cannot understand how the living entity quits his body, nor what kind of body he enjoys under the spell of the modes of nature, but those whose eyes are trained with knowledge can see all this clearly. So the worst thing is to not understand what kind of body we have under the spell of the modes of material nature. The worst thing is to think, I'm not a conditioned soul, I'm a devotee. Therefore I'm not really conditioned, I'm free from the material energy, I can do whatever I like, and it's all right, because I'm free, I'm liberated. We don't see that we're under the spell of the material nature, and therefore we don't try and get out of the material nature very seriously, because we imagine we're liberated. We're liberated from Krishna consciousness. But that's not a very good thing to be liberated from. We're trying to get liberated from the material concept of life. And the only way of getting liberated, Krishna says, Janma karma chame divyam evam yoviti tatvataha tyaksvateham punarjanma naiti mam eti sarjana. Janma, we have to understand how Krishna took his birth, unlike ourselves. Krishna's birth was with 4 arms, with holding a conch, club, disc, and lotus flower. How many of us have taken birth like that? With a helmet, a Kaustubha jewel. Most of us took birth, and the only thing we were doing was screaming when they hit us. That was our birth. So to think we're just like Krishna, from the very beginning of our birth, we were far away from Krishna. And our karma, our activities, are not exactly a manifestation of blissful pastimes. Therefore, tattvataha, one has to understand these things in truth, by experience, not just theoretically that Krishna, he might be God, he's God, whatever. But we actually have to experience how Krishna has liberated soul and what his pastimes are. They're divyam, they're spiritual. Only when we become conscious of Krishna's pastimes as being spiritual, his activities being spiritual. We may read about them theoretically, but unless we experience them when we're reading about them, then it's like licking on the bottle of honey. We're reading, we're hearing, but we're not tasting, we're not experiencing. Therefore, we're just licking on the bottle of honey. That we have to enter into the pastimes, and we don't enter into the pastimes just by imagining we're entering into the pastimes. First of all, our imagination is not so good. That if we were actually able to concentrate on Krishna consciousness and experience by imagining Krishna's pastimes, imaging them within our consciousness, because the deity also appears within the mind. But our imagination, unfortunately, sometimes is that It has nothing to do with Shastra. It's just our own imagination, what we think about Krishna. Now, if we imagine Krishna according to Shastra, that's bona fide. But if we imagine Krishna outside of Shastra, that's called illusion. If we imagine ourselves outside of Shastra, that's also illusion. So we're an illusion now because we think ourselves to be something we're not. And we think Krishna to be something he's not, and everyone else to be something they're really not. We think people are the three modes of material nature, and therefore we judge people as being the three modes. Of course they are living in the three modes, but they're not the three modes. They're the spirit soul within the body. And therefore one has to have enough knowledge to both see through the eyes of knowledge, as Krishna says, Kshetram Kshetra Jnanam. That's a good beginning. Kshetra Kshetra Jnanam Antara Jnana Chakshusha Bhuta Prakriti Moksham Cha Ye Viduryanti Te Param. That one who can see Kshetra Kshetra Jnanam, one who can see both the body and the knower of the bodies with knowledge. Kshetra Kshetra Jnana Antara Jnana Chakshusha. By seeing through the eyes of knowledge, at least we have to see theoretically. We may not, why don't we see theoretically? Because we don't like to see like that. We think that I've worked so hard to get this my exalted position I'm in now, why should I see everyone else equal to me? They didn't work as hard as I am, how could they be equal? Well, we don't understand that eternally everyone is equal, and that it's only because we don't recognize everyone's equal, that's our inequality. The more we think ourselves to be superior to others by dint of our material situation, and we forget how everyone is qualitatively equal spiritually, then the more we become bewildered by ignorance. It's called pride. In other words, if everything is a manifestation of Krishna's energy, then how can I, 1/10,000th the size of Tibetan size, believe that I'm superior by my spiritual identity, by my spiritual position, superior to anyone else? It's called illusion. But the material nature is very kind. It supplies illusion to everyone, so we can imagine that I'm in some higher position than everyone else. By dint of what? Generally it's by dint of Janma Aishvarya Shruta Shrivir Edaman Afmadak Puman Naivahatya Vidatum Vai Tvam Akinchana Gochara. I think Janma, I've taken birth in a very nice country. I've taken birth in a European country or an American country, unlike the uncivilized people from other countries. And therefore, I'm one step ahead of everyone. Because that's, consider that European is civilized. How can a country or countries that are slaughtering animals be civilized? They're less than animals. The tigers and the lions don't go out on Sunday to hunt for pleasure. One tiger doesn't say to another, hey, I'm a little bored, let's go out and hunt some deer and kill them. No, they do it because that's their nature, they have to eat, so they do it out of necessity. They don't do it out of sport. And yet, in so-called civilized countries, they're killing animals with the false conception that the animals have no soul. So they're in ignorance, and they're acting in ignorance. How can they be civilized? How can they so-called be advanced in knowledge? Because even in the big universities, they never teach that we're not the body. The most obvious thing, that our bodies are changing, but we're not changing, they don't even know that. So they're completely in ignorance. They're just taking some pride in that they have some technology. But what is this technology? Previously, people used to walk, and they didn't have far to go because everything was within, that they needed for their maintenance was in walking distance, practically speaking. Maybe when they had a horse or something, a horse and carriage, if it was a little further away. And now they have cars, but what is these cars? They're horrible. They're polluting the air, they're polluting the atmosphere, they're dangerous, take so much money to buy one, to make one. It's horrible. And yet they're so much proud that they have a car and they have to build these roads. Like in Slovenia here, you come anywhere, during the summer, they're always building roads. The busiest time of the year when everyone's traveling, that's when they're building all the roads. So they have rush hour. Rush hour means that everything slows down. So how can it be a rush hour? It's a slow hour. And they're so proud that we have so many cars, so many roads, and practically speaking, it's a slow hour all the time. So this is just illusion. People are just proud of their illusion. They're proud that they're somehow or another, they don't have to work, they have to work hard to get anything that they want. But their working hard is not physically hard, it's just mentally hard. And as a result, they can't even digest their food. The food is indigestible. Their bodies are so weak because they don't do anything. And they can't even digest their food. And they think they're making advancement. They go to the doctor, and the doctor gives them some pill, which digests their food and digests their stomach too. Digest their liver, digest their kidneys, digest everything. And they think they're making some advancement. Yeah, they're making advancement, but in the wrong direction. Therefore, one should understand the unfortunate condition of modern society, where practically everyone is completely in ignorance, have no idea what the goal of life. They have no idea that the goal of life is to attain Vishnu. And therefore, they're just interested in the most insignificant things. What football team won. I remember when I would be walking around and on these billboards they had the football team from Slovenia from 50 years ago. And that's what they're worshiping. That's what they're meditating on. That's where they're feeling separation from. And they're proud of it. This is what they're proud of. That we had a team who was able to kick the ball into a net. We're so proud. No one knows who they are, they don't know what the aim of life is, they don't know how to be peaceful or happy, but they're proud that some heroes in their country kicked the ball into the net. And yet, what we hear about, here it says that Lord Shiva, Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva is, what's the first one for Lord Shiva? The 12 Mahajans. Who's the first one? Swayambhura, Narada, Shambhu, Kamara, Kapilo, Manu, Prahlado, Janako, Bhishmo, Vayura, Vyasakara, Bhayam. That these persons, people don't even know about, that they have any significance. Swayambhu. That there's a person who created the universe. They don't even care about him. They think if he came here, they put him in a freak show. Who's this guy? An alien. He comes with 4 heads. And Swayambhu, Narada, Shambhu. He has snakes around his neck. There's water coming out of his head. These people are, these are just part of a freak show, all of them. Some guy floating in the air with a veena, just playing some music. These people are just worshiping these freaks. It's bad enough they think their God is a coward boy in some Aborigine village somewhere. But they imagine this elephant, this four-headed man flying around in a swan. I mean, what an imagination. And someone else riding on a bull. Maybe when he gets hungry, he kills it and eats it or something. So they have no idea that, because they don't even know they're not their body. And they judge everything from their own bodily concept of life, their own limited concept of life. Everything has to be limited by their bodily concept of life. Because otherwise, there may be a possibility that they're not God, that they're not the center of the universe. And that they can't accept. That false ego is what they hold most tightly to. They'll do anything but give up their false ego, that they're not their body, that they're 1/10,000th the size of the apparent size. And they know absolutely nothing about how this material world has been created, how it's being maintained, and how it's going to be annihilated. All they know is what their body feels like and what everyone else tells them that their body feels like. That's all they know. And they think they're advanced. And if someone can make some machine to so-called make your body feel better, then they're as good as God. They're the creators. All they can do is create some tin can that rides on this road, which is in Slovenia always bumpy. And yet they think they're God because they created this tin can made out of, it's not even metal anymore, it's all plastic. Therefore one has to study Srimad Bhagavatam, study the lives of Swayambhu, Narada, Shambhu, Kumara, Kapila, Manu. See what these great personalities are thinking. They know they're not in the bodily concept of life. They know that they're not. They know that Paramatma is guiding them. They know that the goal is Bhagavan. Therefore, they're light years ahead of all these other so-called important people in the material world, which actually have no importance whatsoever. They're exactly like the fireflies who, at night, when there's a flame, they all fly into the flame. Material existence. And then they all fall to the ground dead. And during the day, people just scoop them up and throw them away. That's exactly what's happening in modern society. People are living a life of desperation, trying to survive. At the end, they all die. And then the mortician comes, sweeps them away, puts them in a container and puts them underground and the worms eat them, and this is the whole glory. And no one remembers. Can you remember who was glorious 300 years ago? No one remembers them. No one cares about them. You have to go to school to learn about them because they indoctrinate that some king was in Slovenia 300 years ago, as if he was doing the same crazy things that everyone's doing now, but to a lesser extent, because he had no ability to be so sinful as people are now. He may have made the mistake of going to church once in a while. He may have made the mistake of even trying to get rid of a little bit of his false ego of being the king. So that was a big mistake he was making, according to modern society. He should have been puffed up as the king. How dare he go to church and pray to God? He is God. He's the king. He's the president. He's the head of the corporation. So modern society is just meant to increase people's false ego so they can't understand. And Krishna is so kind, he gives material nature to make us believe that actually we're important, that we have some significant thing here to do, outside of devotional service, outside of Krishna's mission. So, the aim of life is to experience Krishna, and we can't do it as long as we maintain this limited conception of ourselves, that we're limited to our gross and physical activities, rather than entering into the unlimited realm of our spiritual nature. And then we can actually do something significant if we actually manifest the spiritual energy here by entering into it ourselves. Then that spiritual energy can wake ourselves and everyone else up. And that's what's significant. That's what the material world is meant for. Not to build machines and airplanes and rocket ships. Material nature is meant to awaken the soul. And if one is doing that, then his life is actually valuable. And if he's not doing that, he's shravam eva ki keolam. It's simply a waste of time. Fortunately, we have the opportunity to awaken our Krishna consciousness, become conscious of Krishna by following the process of devotional service as given to us by the Mahajans. And the ultimate goal is just to think about Krishna, chant Hare Krishna. That's it. We've reached the goal. At least the process of getting to the goal. We've understood that. To chant Hare Krishna with some feeling, let's start with some knowledge, theoretical knowledge, that when we chant Hare Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead with his internal energy is actually there. And therefore I should concentrate my mind on hearing the holy name and give up all these other crazy thoughts about what I have to do, at least for that time. They're not necessarily crazy, but all these other obligations and thoughts and anxiety, just give it up and just chant Hare Krishna and listen. Try to enter into the whole, it's just hearing submissively, with appreciation, this opportunity to hear the holy name. And then actually be a little enthusiastic that this is such a nice opportunity and that I should appreciate it, and I should appreciate the deities, I should appreciate the devotees, I should be appreciative. Not envious, but appreciative. Then the result is that we can actually experience Krishna consciousness, and that's better than any material accomplishment we're going to get. Any material gain, any material desires we may have in this material world. It's better than anything we could possibly imagine. Just entering into the holy name by understanding things properly. How everyone is Krishna's servant, everyone is meant to love Krishna, and therefore when the devotees are chanting Hare Krishna, it's a pastime. It's as good as hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam. Just to listen to devotees chant the holy name, calling out for Srimati Radharani and Krishna to engage in their loving service, this is their perfection. After as it's ho bhata swapato to garyan ijiva grave artade navatubhyam tapasta poste arya brahmanuchara namagrinanti yete. That it is wonderful that even a swapakacha, one who eats dogs, if they chant the holy name, they've surpassed all the Vedic literature, all the Vedic culture of being a brahmachari or performing sacrifice or going to the holy places. They surpassed all of that just by chanting Hare Krishna. And if we can do it with more feeling, with more attention, by avoiding the 10 offenses, by giving up our material conceptions, that these people here, they're my competitors, everyone in the material world is my competitor, I'm envious of everyone, the people who are superior I want to drag down, I'm so happy to hear how they're having problems. If we read newspapers full of problems of all the so-called politicians and the sports people and the music and the movie stars with their billions of dollars, how they're suffering, and we become elated. Wow, they're suffering more than me. I'm superior to them. I'm not suffering like they are, although they supposedly in such a high elevated position, but they're being dragged down to my level or lower. So I feel elated when I hear that. Here, you read the newspapers, how the wars, people are suffering and so many, and I become elated to hear that because I feel superior in a better position than they are. And the people on my same level, I'm competing, so I'm one step ahead of them. One book point ahead of them. So when my name comes to the last, everyone goes, Jai! It's all right, I'm humble. And the people who infuriate, don't get so puffed up, Prabhu. You're a bhakta. You'll always be a bhakta in my eyes. I joined 3 weeks before you did. I'm your senior godbrother. Remain in a humble position whenever you see me. So there's all due to enviousness. Instead of the service attitude, those who are superior, we want to serve them, their example, follow their example and instructions. For those who are on the same level, we want to be friends with them and walk alongside of them and help them advance in Krishna consciousness and take instructions from them and take example from them how to serve the superiors and help the inferiors. And for the inferiors, we want to raise them to the activities of devotional service so that their lives become meaningful rather than just being wasted in so-called pursuit of material success. Then we'll understand what Krishna's pastimes are, because we'll be living in them. It's not that we're going to suddenly become a gopi and while in this lifetime, we're going to manifest our lives as manjaris somewhere. No, to live in this Sankirtan movement of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's movement, this is our opportunity to enter into Krishna's pastimes by living as this is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastime. What it is, it's Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastime. And if we enter into it in a real way, in a devotional way, we change our consciousness to a devotional consciousness by having devotional knowledge, devotional activities, devotional convictions, devotional qualities. Then we'll actually enter into Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastime in this lifetime. Then we'll become qualified to enter into other pastimes of Krishna in other realms. Otherwise, we're just living in imagination. So I'll stop there. Thank you. Any questions? Yes.
You mentioned that Krishna appears with 4 hands. Is there any deeper meaning of these 4 hands? And also,
well, it would be hard to hold the conch shell wheel and lotus flower and club without 4 hands. That's why.
I also think.
Because when Krishna comes, he says, Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya chadiskritam dharma samstapanarthaya sambhavam yuge yuge. So when Krishna appears, he comes always for the same reason, namely to annihilate the miscreants and to protect the devotees and to reestablish religious principles. So with 2 hands, he has the club and the wheel to kill the miscreants. So he has to kill them somehow. So he comes with a club and a wheel, the disc. And to bless the devotees, he comes with a lotus flower and conch shell. Conch shell to blow victory, and the lotus flower, so the devotees have something nice to smell.
And some sub-question, we know that on Vaikuntha they have 4 hands, but sometimes also demigods are illustrated with 4 hands. Is this true or no?
Yeah, the demigods sometimes have 4 hands. Okay. Sometimes they have more.
Yeah.
Even on this planet, Banasura had 1,000 arms. So they have different. Okay, anything else? Yes.
Hare Krishna. I have just one question from yesterday. One person asked, what is the difference between mixed devotional service and devotional service? How you will reply to that question?
Naishkarmyam apyuchuta vivarditam nishobhyate jnanam niranjanam katak punas ishvare Nichapitu karnam something, I forget the last word. Anyhow, Naishkarmyam apyuchuta varditam. Mental speculation or speculation devoid of the Krishna consciousness doesn't look very nice. In other words, all our cultivation of knowledge, if it doesn't lead to Krishna consciousness, it just doesn't look very good. And what to speak of material activities, karma, fruit of activities, which by nature are very painful from the beginning to the end. So mixed devotional service means we don't know Krishna. Well, let's go back, chapter 10 in Bhagavad Gita, text number 10. Tesham sadatam yaktanam bhajanta pritipurvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mamu puyanti te. To those who are constantly devoted to worshiping me with love, I give them the understanding by which they can come to me. So, love, pritipurvakam, love and devotion to Krishna. That's pure devotional service. When our hearts, when we see the deities, we feel love for them. That's pure devotional service. And when we look at the deities, we think, wow, they look nice today, but who are these people anyhow? That's good. That's called jnana. We're wondering, what are they actually like? So, karma means when one knows that the goal is Krishna, when one is attached to the results of one's activities, one is said to be acting in karma yoga. When one knows that the goal is Krishna, but one takes pleasure in mental speculation to understand Krishna, he's said to be acting in jnana yoga. And when one loves Krishna and acts simply to please Krishna, he's said to be acting in buddhi yoga or bhakti yoga. So when everything we do is just meant to please Krishna, we don't care what the results are. We only care if Krishna is pleased. We know how, when we look around, we see Krishna everywhere, how Krishna is manifested in his varieties. That's called jnana yoga. But when we look around everywhere, we see Krishna, we love everyone and everything. That's called bhakti yoga. So to think that our activities now are as such devotional service is that we can we can at least work in Krishna consciousness with jnana yoga, with knowledge, so that we can try to understand what to do in this world to please Krishna. We may not see Krishna everywhere, but at least we should theoretically understand how Krishna is manifested in his different energies and what we should do with those energies to please him. That's called sadhana bhakti. So that much we should do. And then we can rise up to the platform of pure bhakti, of love. In the meantime, when we're devoid of knowledge, we're not seeing through the eyes of knowledge, but we're doing devotional service. That's called karma yoga. We're not really quite sure what's going on, but we know it's the right thing to do. And we're not doing the wrong thing. So that's called karma yoga. We look around, we see knowledge, and we try to act according to that knowledge. That's called jnana yoga. And when we see everywhere Krishna spontaneously, that's called bhakti yoga, pure devotional service. Anything else? Hwala Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Premanande.